It is Wednesday, the 30th of July, 2025. And today I might share videos at the end. I'm most certainly going to be sharing the highlights from Moose on the Loose regarding the debate that Pierre Poilievre had in Battle River Crowfoot yesterday. It was a good debate. Interesting. I didn't watch the whole thing yet. And so I'll share that at the end. But I want to get into some updates for news and information that are circulating around the interweb and see if it's fake news or not. And so the first one, so I shared yesterday, but I didn't do a video. I was way too busy. And I didn't even get home till like after 6. Anyway. And so this was saved yesterday. So this is Howard Lutnick, who's Trump's Secretary of Commerce. He bought a home from and was neighbors with Jeffrey Epstein. He worked at the World Trade Center and happened to be late to work on 9/11. And he is also friends with Benjamin Netanyahu. So out of all of these, people are saying that he's likely connected to Benjamin Netanyahu regarding multiple different committees and organizations he's affiliated with. But ChatGPT and Grok don't want to confirm or corroborate the friendship. They're saying that they've likely interacted with each other, which they absolutely have, during certain events and proceedings, ceremonies, you name it, just based on their mutual and similar alignments. Not to be redundant with that. And so I did want to share. I shared this yesterday, but oh no, then it gets into Kushner. Anyway, I'll get back in. So very interesting connections. Okay, you have a few photos that they're going to. So Trump says to forget about Epstein files while standing next to Epstein's neighbor of 20 years. There he is in the background, one of his meetings, again in the background, or right beside him in these cases. So anyway. Keeps on bouncing me out. All right. Now onto stories that have not been removed because of the amount of time. There's a lot of swearing in this video, so be warned. This is regarding net zero and carbon tax scams and everything. And this was hilarious.
The future looks like regarding electric.
This is from Australia, but I'm in Canada. We should have people speaking like this as well. Actually, Pierre's been calling it out, so have the Conservatives. But anyways, we'll see if he makes it. I think he's likely going to be the one that gets voted in, especially after last night. There was no one even close to doing as well as he did during the debate.
Electrification and battery electric vehicles in your mining operations, then?
Well, we have coal because we've got the biggest coal deposits in the world, but we're not allowed to burn the fucking stuff. So the world's rooted, really. It's all right to be idealistic, but you also have to be realistic. And until the lights go out, the idiots that want to be green on everything and not do mining, not do coal, not do anything, they're going to have to go back and use candles and live in tents. And then they'll no, you might fucking laugh, but it's true. You understand what I'm talking about? I'm not talking bullshit. I'm talking reality. No. If we don't get realistic, we're fucked. It's as simple as that. We're not allowed to use uranium. We've got the biggest uranium deposits in the world in Australia. We're not allowed to mine the fucking stuff. So it's all fucked. So when half these cunts die, well, the world will be a better place. And then those of us that survive will get it going again.
Well, you just that's no.
My next door neighbour, I was talking to him. He's a lawyer, so he's not an idiot.
So good.
Well, he is a fuckwit, but that's another problem. But he said, "Oh, that's right. You just put plugs along the highways." I said, "But if you haven't got a fucking source from a power station, plugs on the highways aren't going to do jack shit, right? You understand me? The people don't understand. They think the electricity comes out of fucking space. But if you haven't got a charging system, which is a steam coal burning power station, how the fuck can you charge your batteries? You understand that?
Yeah, I understand.
Well, there's a lot of the cunts don't, and that's the problem with the world.
Thank you so much for your time and enjoy the rest of the visit.
I love that.
We'll enjoy it eventually.
So funny. This was circulating around because there's a lot of people losing it because Sydney Sweeney, like she was posting, like she was being advertised in a Gene ad. And people are trying to say that it's Nazi propaganda because she's blonde hair and blue eyed. Like, it's so ridiculous to me. And so I was just saying here, like my comment was laugh out loud. They said good genes. as in what you wear, denim. It was a denim ad. Play on words. Having a hot white chick with blue eyes for one ad isn't Nazi propaganda, people. And I was saying that's friggin' racist to say, though. So like people that are saying that if there's advertisements with women that are white or have blue eyes or blonde hair, that this is somehow Nazi propaganda. Like how friggin' racist and disgusting can you be? Like literally accusing us just because of how we were friggin' born, like classifying us as a friggin' Nazi. Like again, like give your head a shake. Emotionally weak people again are getting upset at this stuff. Yeah, so I like the comment here. We're not dealing with activism. We're dealing with emotionally instability dressed as politics. I couldn't even agree more. And this was circulating out there as well. Fact check true. So John Miller reported that the man pictured the shooting. Anyway, it's not to make fun of this, by the way. This is an absolutely horrific act. And there was a female from Blackstone, which is a subsidiary, like an umbrella company of BlackRock. She was murdered and there were other people shot at. And the man pictured is likely a white guy, according to the experts at CNN. So again, CNN, lying intentionally to paint a picture. And if people were just listening to this and not watching the news, they wouldn't even include into this, right? Because a lot of people just like listen to things on the radio or they listen to the background and don't follow up. A lot of people don't friggin' follow up or do their own research into reporting. So I just want to see the poster.
Who he is?
They do not know who he is. They know he is a male, possibly white. He's wearing sunglasses. He appears to have a mustache. And that picture has been distributed to every police officer in New York City, particularly has been sent to the phones of the search teams inside that building, because whenever they encounter a group of people, the first thing they have to figure out is that individual among these people hiding among victims or pretending to be an office worker? Because one thing you don't want to have happen is to have this kind of cordon where you're trying to evacuate people in groups as you can get them to a safe corridor and have this person slip out with them. So, yes, they have the picture and they have distributed to everybody on the scene.
All right. John, stay with me. I know you're up.
Possibly white. Okay, so this is regarding Jon Stewart and Gaza. I'm just going quickly through these because I do want to get to the video, but I still want to give like the major highlights just to confirm if it's true or not. Because again, a lot of information that's getting shared now, left and right, even people that are truth seekers or journalistic reporters, whatever you want to call them, they're like, and I'm not perfect either. I'm not saying I am, but I'm trying to put a lot more effort into what I'm sharing and if it's based on actual truth or facts or not.
What I'm seeing, and I have a moral clarity about what I'm seeing. And what I'm seeing, I think, as someone who was raised in Judaism, that's what taught me that this is wrong. What I'm seeing happening in Gaza is wrong. I feel like a crazy person. I feel like I'm watching something that is so self-evidently inhumane and horrific, and to be told that I have to shut up because I risk the Jewish state by speaking out.
I mean, even Israel's leading human rights organization, B'Tselem, has just come out with a report saying they believe this is genocide. In Israel-Palestine, it's Jews who all enjoy legal supremacy and citizenship, and Palestinians who are denied basic rights.
I saw an article in the Times, Bret Stephens, I think, and his argument was this can't be a genocide because Israel's so strong they could kill them much quicker.
Right.
And I thought, well, that's the most cynical description of a military siege and a purposeful starvation that I've ever seen in my life.
Right. For almost 3 months early this year, Israel cut off all food, all medicine, all water into the Gaza Strip.
It's a siege. It's a military siege.
Yes, that we are deeply complicit in. It could not happen without us.
Then why can't we use our leverage? Surely the United States can't believe that this is in the best interest of the region. And when Donald Trump says something like finish the job, what job is he talking about? What does that mean?
Well, I mean, the Trump plan made it pretty clear. The mass expulsion of all Palestinians from Gaza. So it seems to me, if we want to remember our history, if we want to honor those in our own families and of our people who were slaughtered and who were genocided, who were starved to death while nobody in the world cared, our obligation is to care. Our obligation is to risk something.
Now conservatives are like at a football game sponsored by Palantir. Now conservatives are at the Army-Navy game with a giant Palantir advertisement. You know what Palantir is? All the same people conspiracy mongering about mRNA vaccines, mass surveillance, about facial recognition, social credit score, intelligence agencies, all the rest. They're now cheering Palantir's Manchurian Candidate. Palantir does all those things. Palantir does all those things. Palantir created the technology that would track people through Bluetooth so they could contact trace COVID during the pandemic. Palantir is talking about the next pandemic. Palantir is doing facial recognition in Gaza, creating kill lists for the IDF. Palantir has a list of 2 million Americans that are designated as radical extremists who would be rounded up in a martial law scenario. And you have conservatives saying, oh, I like Vance. Look at his dog. But Vance said, I don't care, Margaret. Based? Dude, he works for Palantir. You might as well you might as well have an employee of CERN being the president, you know? Like, it could not be more on the nose. You know how outside CERN they have like a statue of Vishnu the Destroyer? And their logo is 3 6s? Like, it could not be more on the nose. Palantir comes from Lord of the Rings. It means a seeing stone that betrays its user. Yeah, that's not ominous. Palantir, which is a mass surveillance company that takes all the metadata they're scraping and uses AI to make it usable for every law enforcement agency. It's named after the seeing stones in Lord of the Rings that are manipulated by evil wizards to betray the user. Yeah, that's not ominous at all. That seems totally... That's having a normal one. Yeah. Just get back to talking about how Vance says, can I miss the inauguration? I got to see the college football game. I'm just a stupid chud. Duh. Can I miss the inauguration? Football's on. Oh, he's just like me. I'm a fucking idiot too. He's just like
Nothing wrong with football.
me. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Because we have been taken advantage.
So this is Trump when he was talking with Keir Starmer. I have to do more research into this, but and this is not at all to call out Chris Sky on anything, but he just made a post, and it looks like he was saying that how the Secret Service didn't stop this. There's a woman with a picture that says Trump is a cunt in the background. I'm not sure if that's like AI or edited or not, but in 2016 there was a woman named Jane Godley who outside of a Trump golf course. And I believe it was in Scotland, but she had a sign that said Trump was a cunt, and she was like high-fiving some law enforcement in the area and stuff like that. And I'm fairly certain, but I'm still gonna like look into this, but I'm fairly certain she passed away not too long ago. And so it could be another person. I just I took a screen capture and I zoomed in, and it does look very similar to her. But anyways, I want to get more information on that. But regardless, I don't want that to take away from this. Because Keir Starmer was cut off when he was talking about Canada.
Of like no country has ever been taken advantage of. Thank you very much. And
look, we had a really good discussion, a productive discussion, a good discussion, as a result of which our teams are now going to be working together on an economic deal. Our teams are going to be working together on security in Ukraine. You mentioned Canada. I think you're trying to find a divide between us that doesn't exist. We're the closest of nations, and we had very good discussions today, but we didn't
That's
discuss
enough.
Canada.
Thank you. Please. Go ahead. Yes.
It's like, that's enough when he was talking about Canada.
Thank you. Because we have been taken advantage of like no.
It's very interesting. And yes, just to get back on Jane Godley, she died November 2nd of last year. at age 63 years old, Glasgow, UK. And so this does look like her. So if it was, like, it wouldn't be possible for her to have taken that, for that picture to have been taken just in the last few days. Anyways, Charles Kushner, the father of Jared Kushner. This should be interesting to people.
This man is Charles Kushner, and if you hang out with me a second, I'll tell you how Maine figures into this story. In the early 2000s, Kushner's company filed false tax returns to basically cheat the government out of $250,000. Once the feds caught on to him, Kushner hatched a scheme. He would hire a prostitute to seduce the husband of a cooperating witness, and then film it and try to extort that witness. Oh, I forgot, the witness was his sister. In August 2005, he was charged with 18 counts of federal tax evasion, witness tampering, and lying to the FEC. Kushner pled guilty and was sentenced to 24 months behind bars by a judge who called his crimes disgraceful and reprehensible. Kushner's son Jared is married to Ivanka Trump, and Jared played a huge role in the first Trump administration. Trump gave Charles Kushner a pardon at the very end of his first term after he had lost to Joe Biden. In 2023, Kushner said thanks by donating $1 million to a pro-Trump super PAC. President Trump then rewarded him by giving Kushner a coveted ambassadorship. And earlier this month, Maine Senator Susan Collins was the 51st vote to confirm him as the U.S. ambassador to France. This man is Charles Kushner, and if you hang out with me a second, I'll tell you how Maine figures into this.
Okay, so I did go on Grok with this as well because I'm like, wow, that just seems really, that I didn't know that whole story. And so I wanted to make sure it was true. And so the query appears to reference allegations involving the Kushner family, specifically tax corruption, prostitute, and federal tax evasion. Based on historical records and recent discussions, this most closely aligns with the 2004-2005 federal conviction of Charles Kushner, father of Jared Kushner, son-in-law to Donald Trump. Charles Kushner was convicted on multiple counts, including federal tax evasion, witness tampering involving a prostitute in a blackmail scheme, and illegal campaign contributions. These events have been widely reported and are not disputed. Jared Kushner has faced separate allegations of tax avoidance and corruption during his time in the Trump administration, but nothing directly involving prostitutes or federal tax evasion charges. I didn't say that. Okay, so Charles Kushner, a New Jersey real estate developer and major Democratic donor at the time, was investigated by then U.S. Attorney Chris Christie starting in 2003. The case stemmed from financial irregularities in his companies, but escalated into a lurid tale of retaliation. Key details: federal tax evasion. Kushner pleaded guilty to 16 counts of assisting in the preparation of false federal tax returns. This involved underreporting income and claiming improper deductions through, what do they always friggin' do? Real estate partnerships. And I guarantee you people like Carney do the same exact friggin' thing. Evading, and BlackRock, JP Morgan, evading taxes on millions of dollars, like at the very least. Illegal campaign contributions. He admitted to 2 counts of making illegal campaign donations, funneling over $90,000 to Democratic candidates, including Hillary Clinton and Jim McGreevey, through straw donors to skirt federal limits. They do the same thing with the USAID. Witness tampering and the prostitute scheme. The most infamous aspect was Kushner's retaliation against his brother-in-law, William Schulder, who was cooperating with federal investigators. Kushner hired a private investigator to arrange for a prostitute to seduce Schulder in a New Jersey motel room. The encounter was secretly videotaped, and Kushner mailed the tape to his own sister, Schulder's wife, as intimidation to prevent testimony. So he literally bought a prostitute for his sister's husband to get him into a friggin' blackmail scheme. Like, if that is not absolutely disgusting and shows what type of a person that friggin' family is, to do that to their own friggin' family, oh my God. Anyway, so I just found out about this today, like more into it, and just like, this is absolutely insane to me. Okay, so in August 2004, Kushner pleaded guilty to 18 felony counts in total. Tax evasion, witness tampering, and false statements to the Federal Election Commission. He was sentenced to 2 years in federal prison in 2005, serving 14 months at federal prison camp, Montgomery in Alabama, followed by time in a halfway house. He was fined $40,000 and disbarred in 3 states, New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania. Chris Christie described it as one of the most loathsome, disgusting crimes he prosecuted. In 2020, President Donald Trump pardoned Charles Kushner, citing his record of reform and charity. Kushner has since donated significant to Trump-related causes. No surprise there. This is what I mean, like these foundations, these philanthropists. These are usually people that have dark, seedy, disgusting pasts, and they're trying to make a new image for themselves, so like recreate like a new image as like some kind of like a virtue signaling, elitist friggin', I don't know. Anyways, in July 2025, Trump appointed him as U.S. ambassador to France and Monaco, drawing renewed criticism over his criminal history. So yeah, Trump has got some great people that he's selected to be so friggin' close to him. Anyway, so here it is here. Jared Kushner's related allegations. While the query may also intend to reference Jared Kushner, his controversies are distinct and less directly tied to prostitute or federal tax evasion. But like, let's look at that building in New York at 666 whatever street, and over $1 billion of a bailout, and Carney's connected to that as well. But anyway, Brookfield. A 2018 New York Times investigation, again, take that with a grain of salt, reported that Jared Kushner paid little to no federal income taxes from 2008 to 2016, despite earning approximately $200 million annually. This was achieved through legal real estate depreciation deductions, always in the friggin' real estate trying to bury assets, which allow paper losses to offset income. His spokesperson denied any fraud or tax evasion, calling the claims 100% false and other loopholes. No criminal charges resulted. During the Trump administration, Jared faced scrutiny for potential conflicts of interest, including securing $2 billion from Saudi Arabia's sovereign wealth fund for his firm. Okay, this is what it was. First, from Affinity Partners post-White House. Critics allege quid pro quo for U.S. policy favors. Family business dealings like seeking loans from foreign entities while in government. And again, I didn't talk about prostitutes, so whatever. Okay, so pro-Trump view. Supporters highlight Charles Kushner's post-prison philanthropy. Donations to Jewish causes as a Holocaust survivor's son, and argue the pardon was justified for reform. His ambassadorship is seen as rewarding loyalty. My ass. Okay. Then I was going into Candace stuff because that freaking lawyer that is assisting with the hearings, Eric Dupond-Moretti, who she's talked about. Okay, so first I asked Rock, and it was like, oh, he's not related to them at all. And then I gave the specifics. And then it finally got into, okay. So the Macrons filed a defamation lawsuit against Owens in Delaware Superior Court on July 23rd, 2025, alleging she spread false claims. Example, Bridget Macron is transgender and the couple engaged in incest. I don't know about the incest thing. Like, where is that coming from? It's that she was a he and his teacher, older than what she's alleging, and is J.M. Tragnon. The primary U.S. attorneys are Tom Claire, Claire Locke LLP, and Farnan LLP. Dupond-Moretti, a French lawyer and former justice minister, 2020 to 2024, is not listed as formal counsel in the U.S. filings. However, Owens claimed in a July 28, 2025 video and podcast that Dupond-Moretti is publicly representing that he is working with the U.S. attorneys on the case, assisting with investigations or the French side. Okay, so he has publicly denounced Owens' rumors as a state affair and warned of potential Russian involvement. Of course, it's always Russian involvement, Russian freaking hoax, and spreading them to undermine Macron. Context as a close ally of Macron, appointed justice minister by him, Dupond-Moretti's public support aligns with French efforts to combat the rumors, which originated in France and led to prior libel suits where, handled by Jean Inoki, no evidence confirms direct legal work on the U.S. suit, but his involvement in the broader response is credible. Okay, so he represented a man named Dennis Menashe years ago. So true, but with nuances. So Dennis Menashe, from 1958 to 2018, was a French engineer from the Ossé region convicted of incestuous rape against his daughters. That is actually true. Dupond-Moretti was one of his defense attorneys in the 2012 trial at the Assize Court of Somme, Amiens, where Menashe faced charges for raping Virginie, his eldest daughter, and Betty and other daughters. Okay, so he was that. Okay, so family background, Menashe had 5 children, 3 daughters, 2 sons. He abused Virginie from the ages of 8 and Betty from the ages of 10 onwards. imposing a regime of violence and control in their isolated home near Campagne. Okay, so he raped Betty countless times from age 10 to 20, and she was even impregnated multiple times as a child and had abortions, and wrote a book about it. And then because Virginie was going to lose her son and already taken away due to these court proceedings, she was afraid that she would never get to see her child again. So she begged Betty to recount what she was saying and said that they were very much in love, etc. Because again, she wanted to keep her son, and that story has later been again recanted. Okay, so because he was trying to argue the point about happy incest and extraordinary love. Absolutely disgusting when you're talking about grooming and raping your own friggin' children as children. I know that's redundant. Okay, so happy incest. Okay, so Betty's book, Ce n'était pas de l'amour, it was not love, 2021. So Betty, who's still alive, she wrote a book like 4 years ago, and she names Eric in the book, this lawyer, this legal advisor. Okay, incest Peru. Okay, originates from the 2012 appeal trial of Denis Menashe, where Eric Dupond-Moretti was part of the defense team. These terms were used to argue that the incestuous relationship between Menashe and his daughter Virginie was consensual and non-criminal, leading to lenient suspended sentence. Betty Menashe, one of the victims, has publicly criticized this framing in interviews in her 2021 book, Ce n'était pas de l'amour, it wasn't love, co-authored with Julien Mignon and published by City Editions. This book explicitly names and critiques Dupond-Moretti for his role in promoting this narrative, which she views as a distortion of the abuse and a failure of the justice system. So yes, the book directly references Dupond-Moretti, often called Eric in shorthand or full name, as one of the lawyers who represented the family during the 2012 trial. Betty describes being initially impressed by him as a high-profile attorney, but later expresses outrage at his strategy. She recounts how he and other lawyers, example Hubert Delarue, convinced her and Virginie to testify that they were in love with their father and that the sexual relations were consensual. They were children, and that was their father. It's just like so mind-blowing that he did. So this guy he's giving legal advice, then he's going to push this where like, oh yeah, even though Emmanuel was 14 and Jean Antognon was like in his 40s, you know what I mean? It was just, I don't know how he's going to spin this, but we know it's going to be disgusting. And even if Brigitte Macron is a woman, which there's literally no evidence of that. Again, I'm just going on all these tangents, but the proof that they tried to give for this defamation lawsuit from just not too long ago, with those two reporters or journalists or whistleblowers, whatever you want to call them, out of France, it was dismissed because like they couldn't prove that there was any libel or misinformation or defamation or anything like that was actually proven. And what Brigitte had used as a proof that her brother, Jean Tragnon, was still alive was an old voter registration card that was expired. This is like from over 3 years ago. No photo ID or anything like that. And again, if you look at the photos of Jean Tragnon when he was younger, and even from Brigitte when she was like 30 years old or whatever it was, like you look at the side-by-side comparisons, and I've given it to AI, ChatGPT and Grok to look at, and it's coming to the same conclusions that these are in fact the same person. And then also going to the Tavistock clinic and getting conversion therapy, like surgeries on the face, Adam's apple, etc. And then medications that it can easily soften a man's appearance. And so again, there's like not even like the photos of her or him when they were younger. No child, like baby photos, no marriage photos. It's all just very interesting here. But anyway, I can go on with that. But Candace Owens, again, she's covering it at length. Here's another one for you. So I'm just pushing up my Instagram here. I posted a lot of stories. So this is from Mario for the North. I really hope that he gets into politics at some point. He seems incredibly busy with his businesses right now, and it's like probably going to be like the worst job he ever holds and very annoying and frustrating. But we definitely need to meet more people like him instead of the people that he's going to share right now. So this is the premiere of BC that he's going to be sharing, like an interview with.
Ask your reaction to an American singer, Sean Foyt, who is affiliated with the MAGA movement in the U.S. He's performing in Kelowna and Abbotsford next month. What's your reaction to that?
Well, I mean, obviously I don't share this man's politics. I disagree with him using music to go after people who are gay. I think it is. I think it's pretty reprehensible.
That was the premier of BC, and he's apparently terrified of this guy right here named Sean. And as rightfully so, it's pointed out, if you don't like him, you don't go. But he's got the right to perform because you know why? He's a Christian singer performing in churches. His music doesn't target gays, even though the premier seems to feel a little bit targeted himself.
To ask your reaction to an American singer.
Yeah, so there's been a huge attack on Christians for many years, especially with politicians and mainstream media. And it's gonna, and again, in a peaceful way, but this is going to, I don't even know how to express it enough. It's going to blow up in their faces, right? And I mean that in a peaceful way. But like they're so anti-Christian. But there's so many different people from other countries that are coming to societies that were built off of Christianity, and then again with Christian values and norms codified into law, which is how the Constitution was created and the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, etc., to enforce those divine, whatever you're going to call it, 10 commandments, or to look at the 7 deadly sins as actual sins and manage that peace within society. And Christians have been known to be very tolerant and accepting of so many different groups of people, including people who are LGBTQ+IA. And the reason why they're not getting stoned to death or tortured in Canada, in fact, they can have any job they want. And in fact, it's first on the friggin' list now because of woke DEI hiring. And so many other countries, if you're homosexual, you would be, that is punishable by death. Punishable by death. Okay, and so people are slamming Christians, and it's gonna, and again, like they're allowing other groups of people who are very intolerant of women, of children, of sexual preferences, etc. And they're conducting these protests with them. They're allowing them to be fully enabled and supported to like even have like government positions, etc. And then and then they're taking those platforms and they're doing things like banning pride flags. They're doing things like, anyways, things are going to change. Things are going to change, and I just really wish that people would wake up before it actually does happen. More conflicts of interest.
There were two.
Yeah, I didn't explain that properly enough, but again, long day.
Famous ex-politicians in the UK who run a podcast, and one of their wives was receiving $1 million a year from USAID. Now, USAID, and don't fall in the trap of calling it US aid, because that creates the wrong impression in your mind. USAID was set up in, I think it was the Kennedy government. They set it up to be a charitable giving foundation, but it got co-opted by the CIA. And it was well known in Washington that any project that was too dirty for the CIA to fund would be funded through USAID. And the reason for that was any CIA project that needs funding has to go through Congress, whereas USAID just had a budget that didn't need congressional approval for each individual expenditure. So anyway, back to our two friendly podcasters in the UK. One of them went live on air when Trump closed it down. They literally closed USAID down. One of them was complaining that his wife had lost $1 million a year in funding for her company, Turquoise Mountain. And to someone like me who loves sort of researching, I thought, I'll have a look what they do. So I Googled it.
And what do they do?
This is the bit I can't believe. They promoted modern art in the Middle East to women. I mean, to me, that is just a grift. You can always tell who the fraudsters are and the grifters because they're the ones that complain the loudest. There are two famous ex-politicians in the...
all the funding we're giving to all these other countries, like literally millions and millions of dollars for woke DEI initiatives. This is a grift. This is a grift, and it's counterintuitive to the societies and cultures that they're trying to introduce this into as well. And I just wish we had friggin' better people within cabinet, man. Oh my God. And people that were brave enough to actually investigate and fire these people. And that we had checks and balances for people who got selected to be working in cabinet instead of just nominated and appointed by Mark Carney, who is a literal criminal and a traitor to Canada and destroying Canada and has most of his investments in businesses outside of Canada. God, that's one thing, annoying thing about Trump is this whole like propaganda machine that got him, that got Carney elected. Like this, I bet you there was some kind of a deliberate scheme for this to happen when it did during our friggin' major elections. Again, this is probably just like, I don't know how much he really cared about Canada at the time, but he literally screwed over our election period because it was going to be Pierre that was going to win. Conservatives were very much popular, with the exception of Doug Ford, who's also a traitor to Canada. And yeah, then all the mainstream media outlets and politicians just like went on this friggin' bandwagon, literal within like just weeks of Trump talking about tariffs, even though we knew about this over a year ago. He was saying that he was going to do this. They could have easily prepared for it. And no, it just sabotaged our election period. The morons that voted for Carney, again, like I just can't even believe just how they fell for that. Oh my goodness. And look what we have now. Oh, and they talk about green energy, this and that, when AI platforms like Grok and ChatGPT, like fun fact, if you actually take a look at what it takes to cool down the servers that are utilized for these AI platforms, it would blow your friggin' mind. It would blow your mind what has to be done to keep these cool and just how much pollution is created by one simple search. That's why like on Grok and ChatGPT, I don't like to go onto it unless I really need to. And I do like to go off of Google and other databases to do searches, because again, I'm contributing to actual pollution, and these green fund climate activists, woke DEI people are again promoting like shredding trees, overdeveloping, etc., and pushing AI. All right. So yesterday were the debates by election, and this is from Moose on the Loose. And it was only like 20 minutes. I think it was like between 2.5 and 3 hours long, the debate. But these are the highlights.
More people leaving than coming over the next several years.
The by-election debate is done. Welcome back to Moose on Loose. My name's David. Today we have by-election candidates in Battle River, Crowfoot, having a debate. Pierre Poilievre just absolutely wiped the floor with everyone. We're going to ping-pong some clips here between the debate and other stuff going on in Canada, including we've got Kate Harrison dropping a truth bomb on CBC. We've got Pete Holstra, Trump's ambassador, saying that he's optimistic a trade deal will happen with Canada. Let's jump into this. Moving over to the by-election debate, this is quite the scene here. So we've got this guy here, Ashley McDonald, Green Party candidate, big guy. He's so sleepy and quiet. He's often just reading notes. This guy's a bit of a goof. He's pretty funny. There's a lot of funny moments in here. And right next to him, Pierre Poilievre, as you're going to see, very energetic, very passionate, just the polar opposite of this guy.
We don't want to throw around a slogan. We want ideas from our leaders.
Listen to this response. So he's the only one who stood up to talk. It really says a lot. He's commanding the room here.
Thank you. Thank you very much to the chamber. Thank you to the fellow candidates, though I think that there are about 190 of them that are missing. Thank you to Battle River Crowfoot, the region that feeds, powers, and protects this country. Feeds through the great ranchers and farmers, powers through the ingenious energy workers, and protects through the brave soldiers at CFB Wainwright. Makes me proud to be an Albertan. Now, in fairness, I'm from Calgary, born and raised, and Calgary is a little ways from Camrose, but there's a lot of shared values across this province and across this country. And my Alberta values taught me about faith, family, and freedom, hard work, helping your neighbors. And those values guided me to fight for the values of this region when I was leader of the party and member of parliament over a couple of decades, that I forced the Liberal government to get rid of their carbon tax. Which is a local issue in rural communities, forced the debate on developing our resources, slowing down out of control immigration, cracking down on drugs and crime. And now I want to take the local issues and provide national leadership to fight against the electric vehicle mandate, because driving a pickup truck is a local issue in the communities across this region. To fight for law-abiding firearms owners, to fight for farmers, and to expand our military. These are local issues that require national leadership, and it would be a privilege to provide.
So his mic gets cut off, just like everyone else's mic gets cut off here. So in contrast, let's look at Bonnie Critchley.
Allowing us to have this time all in one place without any spin or tall tales told. Myself, I am running as an independent. I don't have a party because I firmly believe that party politics are damaging the Canadian politiscape. We are not American. We are not a two-party system. And while I may have run as a centrist with conservative leanings,
yeah, I don't think so. All her leanings very liberal. She's like a center-left liberal, as far as I'm concerned, what I've seen from her. She's very negative. She doesn't offer any hope. She's just all negativity. That's a big difference you'll notice between Pierre and basically all the rest of these people.
I believe that the Conservative Party of Canada has lost its way, and I fully intend on standing up for my neighbors. When our previous guy sells us out to let the guy from Ottawa come in, that is not right. I firmly believe that we need somebody here who understands our local issues.
It's amazing. She always attacks Poilievre. She has got nothing negative to say about Mark Carney. She doesn't care that Mark Carney helped Brookfield dodge $5.3 billion in tax. It doesn't matter. The fact that he's invested in American stocks, over 550 of them, doesn't care. Just outright attacks against Pierre Poilievre and then says she's a center-right conservative. I don't think so. She's a liberal.
The issues of right to repair, who understands that we do need proper oil sands development. Yes, I saw you there. I'm well aware where you are. And we need the federal government to wake up and pay attention outside the western border of Ontario.
She is not inspiring anyone. Just grumpy and angry and just attacking Poilievre. Nothing negative to say about Carney. She's not going to get very many votes. Moving ahead, CBC Watcher posting this one. We got Kate Harrison on Power and Politics. Once again, dropping a truth bomb as usual.
And I turn to Kate here because, yes, volatility. Is it as good as the paper it's written on? I mean, frankly, we don't even know if there are papers that have been written on for the European deal. It doesn't seem like anybody's seen that. It's been all word of mouth about what's been communicated. The Japanese deal is very, very thin. The details to be worked out later. What happens for Canada, given that we have to renegotiate this thing by law anyway a year from now?
Yeah, well, it's clear Canada's strategy here is to try and keep their powder dry on as much as possible until that broader renegotiation, because any give now could give way to some bigger concessions as a part of the formal CUSMA renegotiation that happens in 2026. So you can understand the strategy behind wanting to concede as little as possible for the current government. But that is coming up against the political reality and the economic reality of continued tariffs, particularly for really key industrial sectors in Ontario and in Quebec with auto and steel, respectively. And again, the Prime Minister being the one to raise the stakes about the focus and the importance of achieving a new economic and security pact with the United States. This was a one-issue election for the Prime Minister. Many Canadians held their nose and voted Liberal because they thought that Mark Carney would be the guy to get a deal done. So I think there is a lot of goodwill being extended to the Prime Minister because we are dealing with, a volatile actor in the White House. But at some point, that's going to come up against the reality of the tariff environment, continued inflationary spending, and again, missing that bigger picture on affordability challenges that are facing people, because we're talking about tariffs. We're not talking about the cost of groceries right now. We're not talking about the housing crisis. These are still problems that Canadians are grappling with.
And Canadians held their nose, as she said, voted for Mark Carney, and now we're all gasping for air. We still have all these problems, groceries, cost of living, all of it. But now we're getting new problems like EV mandates. The cost of cars is going to be going sky high. The infrastructure is not there. The electricity grid's not there. That's just another problem. We have so many problems. Right now, the biggest one is this tariff battle that's ongoing. We've only got a day left here. What is going to happen?
So because Mark Carney has raised expectations on this issue, he is going to be the one that probably falls to some of those expectations that he has set.
We're going to see how good Mr. Banker is. Doesn't look like he's getting a deal, nor does it really matter to him. He's not invested in Canada. The Liberals need to raise tariffs to help pay for their massive debt. Either that or higher taxes. Yeah, no thanks. No more higher taxes. They can get rid of gender-sensitive farming in Uganda. That's where they need to save some money. Canadian voter is easily fooled. After 10 years of Trudeau, they voted Liberal again. Isn't that the truth of it? Canadian voters so easily fooled. This has shown a major problem in our society that needs to be fixed. I don't know how it gets fixed. We need people questioning the government more because this Liberal government cannot be trusted. So next up, I just want to highlight what Pierre says on immigration and on first longest ballot.
Well, first of all, this longest ballot thing is a total scam and it must be stopped. I'm the only leader that this interest group seems to have targeted for some reason, and that I find interesting. but it is a total scam and there is no good public interest reason to do it. I think anybody should be allowed to run, but they should have to get unique signatures and they should have a unique financial agent. If you did that, you'd guarantee this would never happen again. God willing, if I have your support and I get to Parliament, I will put forward legislative changes to make sure that this never happens again anywhere in Canada.
That's just it. We need to have individual financiers for each candidate, and then you wouldn't have this problem, as well as having an individual person signing up every candidate. There's no way these guys would be able to get 100 people to sign up all of these people. It just won't happen.
And speaking of accountability, we need to build on Stephen Harper's Accountability Act to crack down on the loopholes that Liberals, including Mark Carney, have exploited. We need to ensure that our leaders are working for you and not for their private profit. Thank you.
Isn't that the truth? Mark Carney invested in over 550 American stocks. He's not serving Canada at all.
Temporary and permanent immigration. Immigration is great when it's done right.
I agree. And we did it right for 150 plus years, whether it was the frontier pioneers who came and settled the prairies, or the great Italians and Portuguese who came and built roads and founded families across Canada, or my wife who came as a refugee. Her dad picked fruit in a farm field so that he could pay the rent, and now they're a successful story. But over the last 10 years, the Liberals have adopted a post-nationalist ideology. They call it the Century Initiative, to triple our population, to favor globalist interests and multinational corporations at our expense. They've driven down wages with excess temporary foreign workers, with abusing the international student program and allowing fraudulent and often criminal arrivals to come in and abuse our system. That abuse must stop. We must have more people leaving than coming over the next several years as we bring down our population, allow our healthcare, our housing, our job market.
That's so well said. Having more people leaving than coming, it still allows us to bring in people, whether we need to bring in more doctors or bring in more nurses or bring in whatever we need, construction workers. But as long as we have more people leaving than coming, we are going to be in a better state. This is a great stance that Pierre is taking here, and he's not afraid to say it. He's leaning into it. This is what he needs to do. This is going to be the most pivotal topic of the next election. Mark Carney doesn't want immigration to go down because he's invested in Brookfield. Brookfield has both Sagan and First National they just bought the other day for mortgages. They want more mortgages. They want more people. They'll make more money. Moving ahead here, we've got Pete Hoekstra, one of Donald Trump's right-hand men for negotiations. He's optimistic a trade deal with Canada will be reached. He has said this in the past before.
Optimistic and passionate. That's how the U.S. ambassador described his feelings about the U.S.-Canada relationship today, adding he's hopeful a trade deal good for both countries can still be reached. Pete Hoekstra spoke in Winnipeg today, days before 35% U.S. tariffs could kick in. With more on his visit, CTV's Jeff Keel joins us now live. So, Jeff, why is Hoekstra confident a favorable deal all around can still get done?
He compared the two countries' relationship to a cloth. While it's being stretched right now, he believes it will become a new, stronger shape. As a Friday deadline looms, 35% U.S. tariffs on Canadian goods if there is no trade agreement in place, the American ambassador to Canada tried to reassure Winnipeg businesses.
The framework will change, but we will continue to be strong partners.
Pete Hoekstra told a Winnipeg Chamber of Commerce crowd he is hopeful the two countries can reach a trade deal that benefits both sides and that the relationship between the two can continue to be the envy of the world, comparing it to a cloth that is currently being stretched and reshaped.
And what we need to do is make sure that we don't do anything that starts to tear apart that fabric or that fiber.
It's too late for that. That fabric is already shredded. Just look how Canadians feel about America now. They're not going on vacation to America. The vacation rates in Tofino are hitting record highs. It's insane, like $600 a night for a hotel. Canadians are spending their money here. They're not going down to the beaches on the east coast of America. And a lot of these people are rich, Laurentian elite Canadians. They're not going to spend their money in America anymore, probably ever again. This fabric is not stretched. It is torn. There's nothing they can do to mend that now. No trade agreement is going to mend that.
Donald Trump has already placed 50% tariffs on Canadian aluminum and steel. New numbers show inflation jumped slightly in the U.S. last month. Hoekstra was asked what the U.S. position is on the connection between tariffs and inflation.
Obviously, this administration, we don't see a direct link between the tariffs and inflation.
history has shown when you increase the cost of a good through its manufacturing process, that cost is ultimately going to be borne by the final purchaser of that product or service, and that's the consumer.
The ambassador sparked controversy recently when he said there are reasons President Trump believes Canada can be mean and nasty to deal with. Inside the chamber event, the response for Hoekstra was anything but outside, a group protested during the ambassador's visit.
We need to be independent of the U.S., and we don't want to go down the same road that the U.S. is going down right now.
We'll never be independent from the U.S.
Hoekstra spoke for about 10 minutes and took questions for another 40.
Jeff, other countries have signed trade deals with a 15% U.S. tariff rate. Did the ambassador give any kind of insight on a tariff amount Canada could be facing in terms of a final deal?
Yeah, he said he doesn't know. He says he is not in the room negotiating, and if he was, he wouldn't say, as they don't negotiate in public. But he did say he believes most deals are made in the last 72 to 96 hours. And Marilee, that's pretty much where we are right now.
If it comes down to it, Trump is making these deals, not Pete Hoekstra. While he might be optimistic, and we will go forward selling oil and gas and all of that to America, the fabric, though, the relationship, it is frayed. There's a bunch of Canadians want to have nothing to do with America. I have no problem buying American cherries and enjoying them, but there's a lot of Canadians who will boycott everything American probably for the rest of their lives. I don't think Trump realized how badly he damaged this relationship. This whole 51st state rhetoric has pissed off about 80% of Canadians. No deal better than a bad deal. Don't sign away our sovereignty, Carney. That's a pretty bad take. I mean, when it comes down to it, would you rather have a 20% tariff with buying some American jets and whatever, or a 35% tariff? I think what a lot of countries are doing are getting the best deal they can, and they're just going to limp through it until Donald Trump is out of office. That fiber is already frayed. The peace arch, the gates are closed. Cut off supply of energy. Stop buying American. Ditch the bully. Like, these comments, they're so far off. You just can't. You can't cut off the energy because Canada relies on the sale of that energy. It's like the electricity going from Ontario down to America. If we cut it off, okay, they don't have that electricity, but then Canada can't pay the bills. This relationship is badly frayed. The fabric has been ripped. We got a clip here of Daisy Spady. This is the Liberal candidate. Listen to this. He starts gushing about Mark Carney and how great he is, and he gets booed.
I think one of the reasons I took this position to be the candidate for the Liberals is because I'm impressed with the leader. I come from about a 35-year career in business, and I'm very thankful for it. And I like Mark Carney's government and his approach to leading from a position of experience. He has been the central banker for two major economies in the G7.
There's a bunch of people, ooh. You're not getting a lot of support in Alberta for Mark Carney.
This is significant. And when I see his actions now, I'm impressed. So for me as a farmer, I want commodity prices for my crops to be good.
This is disgraceful. This guy hasn't even researched Mark Carney. He hasn't looked into him. He probably doesn't even know that most of Mark Carney's stocks are in American companies. So I just want to jump to the final remarks here. This Green candidate guy is hilarious. Listen to this.
Well, I actually would like to say I'm a little disappointed in Pierre.
My mic was off. I loved the expression on Pierre's face multiple times when that guy was talking about how amazing Carney is and the job he's doing, who he's hired.
I try to get everybody to do a drinking game backstage where we would all take a drink of water when he said woke, and he's not once said it. So it's really kind of disappointing to me. I was really looking forward to this. All right. Thank you, everybody.
So these final statements here, Bonnie Critchley coming with absolute cringe.
We're sitting back in the back. I believe it was Jonathan and Darcy and I were discussing a certain old folks' home that we all know because we live here. Out of curiosity, who here can vote?
What a dumb comment.
This guy's like, what are you talking about? She's trying to take a dig at Poilievre because he doesn't vote in Alberta because he lives in Carleton.
Yeah, it's kind of my point.
Yeah.
We live here. This is our home. And we sure as heck don't want to be doing this again in January now, do we?
It's so cringe.
It's
this is not how this works, Bonnie. She's taking a dig at Poilievre because if he loses his leadership position in January with his review, then she's saying that he'll lose his riding. That's not how this works.
She also in Alberta, she blocked a bill or whatever it was that they put forward to ban conversion therapy on children, on minors. So she's fully on board with children having their dicks cut off, their breasts cut off, and hormone blockers and castration medications on children. Yeah, I've already done a video on that.
I'm an MP, not the leader of the party. He'll still be the MP. She doesn't even know how the system works. This is so embarrassing.
So I have no personal aspirations.
Yeah, you do.
I'll say it again. I've said it before. I'll say it again. I don't want to do this. I was enjoying my retirement from the military, but it is important to me that we have a voice in Parliament.
So she doesn't want to be here, but she's doing it. That's really inspiring, and doing it on the platform of anger and grumpiness. Congratulations.
Yeah.
I firmly believe that Monsieur Poilievre is too busy with his own personal ambitions to give a rat's backside about us. And with him facing leadership review in January, are we doing this again in February?
That's not how this works, Bonnie. He's still going to be an MP, even if he does lose leadership. Get her off the stage. And finally, Pierre Poilievre's closing remarks.
The great Damien Couric was mentoring me and teaching me every day things I didn't know. Tells me I'm not a farmer, but he tells me if I were that I'd be outstanding in my field. And his mentor, Kevin Sorensen, my mission here is to give national leadership to the issues that are of...
And I've called out Pierre on a lot of different things as well. Like, I don't agree with everything that the Conservatives are pushing or talking about. I've called out that certain events that he hasn't publicly condemned, but he has since done so. And so good on him for a lot of things. I think he is the best we have in Canada that's going to be able to hold Carney to account for a lot of different conflicts of interest and criminality and being a friggin' traitor to this country. Like, there's no one else on that stage that is going to be able to do it like Pierre, whether you like it or not. So literally, if you're not going to vote him in, despite, again, like the support of what's going on in Israel and Palestine, in some cases in the Middle East, what's going on in Russia, Ukraine, all the aid that we're giving, where there's no accountability for it at all, like Canadian taxpayers' money getting friggin' stolen, and then even with this push on building more and more houses, when that is not what we need at this point. There's so many other things as well. But he was more vocal about Tamara Lich and Chris Barber and their case. And maybe it was a good thing to hold off until just a few days before, just so it was more fresh. I don't know. I'm not part of his marketing team, his advertisement team at all. But anyway, carbon tax, he wants to shut that down. There's so many things he wants to shut down. Managing, unfucking this immigration status that we have right now with replacement migration, and questioning the World Economic Forum. I'm hoping that he's questioning the World Health Organization as well. I don't know. I'm not that far yet into his stuff. And I'd like to know what his stance is on the EU and our alliance with it. But again, Damien Couric gave up his spot for Pierre. And he had over 83%, I think, of the votes within this riding. And this guy is prominent in in that community, and so was his father and his father before him, farmers. And so he did it so that Pierre can again have a seat in the friggin' House of Commons.
Local importance. For example, reversing that EV mandate to allow you to drive your truck, that is a local issue. And it will take national leadership to overturn.
And left and right, even on my board, same bird. I do agree with that, which is, yeah. It can feel hopeless. It can feel hopeless at times, that's for sure.
The way I overturned the carbon tax, your right to protect and keep your firearms. That is a local issue if you're a hunter
like that
in Empress or Trochu or Consort. Cutting taxes, or for example, letting our farmers have zero capital gains when they reinvest the proceeds in our communities. That is a local issue.
That is a great campaign promise that he had. Surprised Carney hasn't ripped that one off.
Reforming our prisons so that our guards...
And capital gains tax is gonna screw over the boomers who voted for Carney too. And so if they want to sell their houses that are now, they've been probably paid off for a very long time or mostly paid off, and we're able to sell it at a huge profit, especially during the COVID era, like again, the inflationary friggin' pricing and an increase in interest rates and stuff like that. But at this point, they'd have to possibly pay capital gains tax. They're probably going to lose money that they would have got if they sold earlier. And they're also keeping younger families out of having the opportunities of having these houses that they've been holding on to for several years now, when they should be downsizing as well. Again, like, that's not me. That's just me, like, offering my opinion. I'm not saying that everyone that's a boomer should just sell their homes because there's only 2 people living in a huge almost like a friggin' mansion home. I've seen that all over Ottawa and Toronto. But again, it's like taking those houses away from families that could benefit more from it at this point. But I mean, if they sell it at this point with the capital gains tax,
down in Drumheller are safe. That's a local issue that requires national leadership. Fighting against the Chinese tariffs on our canola, that is a local issue. These local issues require strong national leadership, and it would be the privilege of my life to provide both the local representation and the national leadership to the community.
yeah, and he might bring more
Good speech. I mean, he just
more
demolished
development and industry into that area as well. So
everyone there. It was not even close, but there's basically just a bunch of complaining by her, this guy, Bonnie, and the Liberal candidate here. They're all attacking Pierre. None of them provided a outlook that is positive for Battle River Crowfoot. I want to do a little update on this one coming from Blacklock's reporters. There seems to be a lot of confusion on this story. So Anita Nan's husband, John Knowlton, is a senior managing director with OMERS Infrastructure. If you look at the wording of this, they held 34% share in Strait Crossings development, the toll bridge. They don't currently hold that anymore. They sold that back in 2022. But the reason why this is a conflict of interest is because we don't know the conditions of that sale of the shares. With Mark Carney dropping the price, that might have triggered a payout that would go to OMERS as well as Strait Crossing Development based on the agreement of selling the shares. Currently, Anita Nan's husband doesn't own shares in this bridge, but he might benefit from the reduction of the price, the $50 down to $20, because it might trigger something in the back end with the deal of selling these shares. I should have brought up that stuff and broken it down. I just went through the main points on their article here, but that's the situation with this. So there still is a conflict here. We just don't know because there isn't transparency with the government.
and I don't know if you mentioned it, but it's locked until 2026 to even access, like even looking into the Confederate Bridge, privately owned. And again, we are not allowed to get information. Okay, I'm going to leave this because I have to meet someone for 3 for the gym, the gymnase. But I want to end with this. This is from a few months ago, but I think it's really topical right now because I just got an article yesterday that's showing that support for Israel is actually going down. It's dropped 10 points, like even in recent just in the last few weeks, and it's still high for Republicans over the age of 50. But still, I think the average is like 50% support from really like a lot higher than that, even from a year ago. And so people are finally getting the truth, the genocide that's going on, the corruption that Netanyahu has been a part of for decades, and people that are involved with mainstream media, the Hasbara propaganda, psychological operation machines, people like Mark Levin getting called out more, and Ben Shapiro, and then looking more into these picks that Trump has as part of his staff and advisory team, and seeing just like how much involvement there are of lobbyist groups that are specifically tied to and aligned to Zionist nationalism and genocide of an entire friggin' civilization. And yeah, so like when people see what's actually going on, obviously they're not going to support it as much because anyway, I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm going to let them talk, and then I have to bounce. But again, this is from a few months ago, but I think it's more relevant now because more people are open to listening to it.
That are trying to stop the war, and Piers Morgan, Boris Johnson, and Keir Starmer who are trying to keep it going.
I don't want to keep it
going. You've got a lot of
I
Ukrainians.
don't want to keep it going.
You have lied about the origin of this war, about
the
duration of this war.
I have to backtrack. This is about Ukraine and Russia, which also so much misinformation about that's finally coming out as well, with the false flags that happened, with the lies that were told. I've talked about this since the friggin' beginning. The Ghost of Kiev, Snake Island. These were lies. This was bullshit. This was propaganda that was perpetuated by Zelensky and corrupted people from within Ukraine, officials, NATO, Canada. We had politicians in mainstream media lying about the same stuff, even friggin' Biden, out of their friggin' minds. And this was literally just within a week of the COVID pandemic, the Emergency Act being declared on during the Freedom Convoy. What a friggin' time that was. Oh my goodness, what a friggin' nightmare. And Nord Stream and Nord Stream 2, I was saying this, Seymour Hersh even brought it up regarding who was involved in that, which was NATO and Ukraine, even bombing their own infrastructure, killing their own innocent civilians within Ukraine. The Polish farmers dying, those 2 farmers, people were trying to say it was Russia, even Wayne Eyre, who was the chief of defense staff at the time. And again, I don't like talking bad about him because he did have an honorable career before he got involved in the whole friggin' COVID pandemic and completely screwed us all up. and over. But this was Ukrainian air defense, and these allegations of babies being burned and these rape allegations like turned out to be unfounded, just like Israel. And Ben Shapiro, this clown with these like burned babies, charred babies that he tried to post, and I was literally one of the first ones that called it out. And I showed this was AI generated and etc. And it was bullshit. Like, these propagandists make so much money. Their gods are money. So anyways, Ukraine and Russia as well. Yeah, there'd be peace there if we're not funding and supporting and enabling these proxy wars that are only benefiting the military, pharmaceutical, tech, industrial complex. And even Tulsi Gabbard, who like, she's admitting this as well. Like, she's been talking to multiple different journalists and reporters and having hearings, and she's admitting this as well. It's finally coming out. Is it too late? They've already made all the money that they can make. They're trying to draw these out as much as they can, because the longer these proxy wars get drawn out, the more money they make. And there's going to be a lot of money in rebuilding Gaza.
War, about the course of this war, and now having caused you and your
yes, and Confederation Bridge, that is what connects PEI to the mainland. I've been on that bridge a few times. And the price, by the way, it's more expensive. I correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's more expensive if you have a truck than it is if you have a car. I forget.
War party, the death of 1 million Ukrainians while claiming to love Ukrainians. This war did not begin 3 years ago.
God, no.
You very well know that it began in 2014.
Yep.
You very well know that it began with a coup against the elected president of Ukraine, backed by Victoria Nuland and the administration at that time, and supported by you. You very well know that the criminalization of the Russian language, which followed hard on the heels of that coup, was the proximate reason for an uprising in the east of the country amongst Russian-speaking, ethnically Russian people. You very well know that Zelensky and his predecessor rained down shot and shell.
That's right. And something that I reported from the very friggin' beginning as well is Ukrainians, their own friggin' government, were killing innocent civilians in Ukraine, because they either supported Russia or they spoke the Russian language. And by the way, there's a lot of people that are bilingual in these areas or have multiple different languages that they know. And even on the borders of Ontario and Quebec, we are bilingual. Like, a lot. And if you want to work in the federal government, it's obviously you have a requirement to be bilingual, French and English, respectfully, not friggin' Pashto or friggin' Mandarin. Okay, English or French in the Canadian government. And we've actually had even government meetings where it was not held in English or French. And again, that stuff fires me up because it's in the charter. It's in the friggin' laws. Anyway. Yeah, but no one wants to hear this story.
On the people of...
Wouldn't even allow them to get passports to go willingly to Russia. Not even have a referendum. None of that stuff.
Ukraine for 8 years before Putin intervened in 2022. And that 14,000 people, most of them women and children, were killed in that onslaught. You very well know that Zelensky was preparing for a final onslaught, a final solution. And while I'm on that subject, it's the Americans that are trying to stop the war.
Yeah, so a lot of news covered today and headlines, but I do have to go. So on that note, I will leave it at that, and I hope that everyone has a wonderful rest of your day.